And hello to all my Bi-Conic Wrestling fans out there, and welcome to another episode of Beat the Clock, the Monday Night Raw edition, here on the Bi-Conics Wrestling Podcast channel. I am your host, Mikey. I will be one half of your Monday Night Raw team going forward. And of course, as always, I'm joined by my other co host, who I'm going to let him introduce himself to all of y'all.
So guys, Minnie, Evan, however you want to say it. Yeah, I'm here for Monday Night Raw.
I can't wait. This is our first Monday Night Raw review, so we picked a good one to review because there were some good things, there were some bad things, there was a lot of mid things as well. But we'll try to condense this 3 hour show into the important bits and what actually really matters. But of course, you can make sure to give us a like and a subscribe across all the social medias and the YouTube channel to stay up to date on all of the things we got going on here at the Bi-Conics Wrestling Podcast, where we have our long form reviews. If you check our socials, you can see the condensed version, Beat the Clock short form for the weekly television shows. And at the time of this recording, stay tuned because later this week, you will see our first official pay-per-view review as we get ready for Forbidden Door 2. Lord have mercy, I'm not ready for this still. Oh, I'm so excited. And of course, you can check out our Dynamite team tomorrow with their review, as well as any other matches that get announced for Forbidden Door 2 there. But before we dive into Raw, Minnie, what was your overall thoughts of Raw before we dissect bit by bit? How did you feel about Monday Night Raw?
It was felt like every other episode of Raw in between a pay-per-view, if that's not a go-home show. It was just more builds, getting ready to set some stuff up. I feel like they messed up on some things. They didn't mess up on some things. But overall, Raw was like out of 5, 2.53.
Yeah, I'm there with you on that one as well. Monday Night Raw, in my personal experience, it always tends to slog, and there's always some good bits, but there's also some bad bits and some between bits. Everything is just, it's not good, but it's not bad either. And Monday, and both Monday Night Raw and SmackDown, to a certain extent, always falls into this trap where the go home shows are usually pretty decent because then they lead into the pay per view, but then the weeks we get after that leading to the next one are just okay at average.
It was the one before pay-per-view and the one after pay-per-view is okay. It's the ones that are in between that are
Now, there are some exceptions to the rule because the Raw after WrestleMania was garbage. That was garbage.
well, that was I think that was because we also have our expectations so damn high for the Raw after Mania. And the Raw after Mania hasn't been good since like the last 4 or 5 years.
No, but that whole entire show was a mess from top to bottom. And then when the news reports came
Yep.
out of exactly why that was, it made a lot of sense.
Well, crazy thing is, and this is actually how we're going to build into how it started, is it started with Seth Rollins coming out for his open challenge and getting attacked by Finn Balor. That was changed. Vince actually made that change, and it was a good change. Originally, who came out a little bit late, just after that, a return to Muscle Papa is back after 9 months. He was supposed to answer the call for Seth's belt, but they didn't want Tommaso Ciampa to lose his return match. And they wanted Finn to get more heat building in the banks. They had Finn come out and do that. That was a good change. I like both those segments.
Yes. So let's dive into those first two segments because those are the two things that kind of opened up Raw. So Raw opens up Seth Rollins as over as with usual with the fan base, and he gets into the ring ready for the open challenge for his World Heavyweight Championship, but it doesn't happen because Finn Balor is currently slated to face Seth at Money in the Bank for the World Heavyweight Championship. Straight up brutalizes him, and then it continues when we come back from commercial break backstage, where Finn Balor just keeps on decimating Seth Rollins to the point where now he has a kayfabe injury towards the end where he gets wrapped up in tape. And check out our NXT review because this is storyline continues into NXT this week as well. But we'll talk about that when we get to NXT, which you should check out, by the way, later after this video drops. Go check our NXT review because we're going to review Gold Rush Week 1 with NXT. But this is one of the,
Looked into
yeah,
it.
yeah, we'll get into it. But this was one of the few changes I actually did because especially the fact that Seth was defending the title in NXT the following night, made sense not to do two championship matches on free television for a week. And
Also kind of sucks about it though is he had the match NXT match set up. Well, that was more like the NXT. I thought it was kind of dumb. He already is slated to face Finn Balor at Money in the Bank, so we already know he wasn't going to lose the belt for any of these open challenges.
it's
Which kind
very
of
true.
sucks.
Yeah,
Because like we know he isn't going to lose because he's already slated to have a match, but it's still fun.
exactly. So it was a smart decision on that part. And it was a smart decision that after said beatdown of Seth Rollins, Miz is in the ring and he cuts a quick promo saying he was going to open the open challenge, but now that's not going to happen. So he's going to have his own. And who should answer Miz's open challenge but a returning Tommaso Ciampa, has his old theme from NXT back. No one gets out alive. Papa Ciampa is back. My dreams,
The
y-
crowd got loud for him to come back. It was nice.
which I'm glad because a lot of the NXT folks that get called up to main roster always tend to fall into the trap where if the audience has not watched NXT, half the time they're like, "This dude, who is this chick?" Like
Well,
we have no idea. But it was
everybody
nice.
loves Ciampa. Now we see John Gunn down and come back so we can get DYI back, but
Yeah, I hope that's still the plan because the rumor report, according to Fightful and other sources, at SummerSlam for the tag team championships, it's going to be KO and Sammy versus hopefully a reunited DIY, which that ends up being a match that happens at SummerSlam. I will melt in my seat. Give me indie wrestling goodness, and it's so good. But I had to pause during this match because I think at one point, as they were wrestling, there was something that flew out and landed on the mat, and I had to zoom in. I'm like, "Is that a tooth? Did Tommaso or did somebody lose a tooth during this
I saw
match?"
that too. So they did in the replay, but then they quickly left the replay.
I was just like, "I think
I,
Tommaso Ciampa lost a tooth."
he could have. I don't know what it was.
I don't know. As far as the wrestling of this match goes, I always give Miz the credit because he's a good hand to always have. He at this point in his career, I feel like he's beyond just trying to be a champion, and he's just a good, reliable hand to have when it comes to these matches. And I appreciated that Tommaso ended up winning this match because anytime Miz is involved, for me, in my experience, it always goes 50-50. But because this was a returning match, it was a smart decision for Tommaso to go over. I am sad that Johnny Wrestling, this was in his hometown and we didn't get nothing from him. He was
Well,
backstage at Raw in his hometown, but we didn't get to see him on the television screen. But hopefully, in the next coming weeks, we will get him and Tommaso interacting in some capacity, and then a reunited DIY. Just W, if you're listening,
I
please
hope they
do this.
interfere with Pretty Deadly's attempt at the belt before Money in the Bank or something like that. Or they interfere at Money in the Bank. That's why Pretty Deadly loses. That's how we get the Sammy KO versus.
I would love nothing more than that.
Because you would have to make Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano the heels. Because there's no way in hell you can make Sami Zayn a heel right now.
No, he's too over. And then the curious fact is too, because we see it throughout the show on Raw tonight. The fans tend to take over and dictate how you're supposed to feel because some of the people on Raw, they're being pushed as heels, but the crowd is so behind them. No matter what they do in terms of heels, they always get cheered. And we'll talk about her in a little bit because that's the position that Rhea Ripley finds herself in. She's a heel. Damn it, the crowd is over with mommy.
Also, with the boy Hell Night,
Yeah,
no matter like that man got the loudest pop of the night.
we'll talk about that because I also have feelings on that, Matt. What's gonna come up Money in the Bank?
You know what?
Yeah,
I don't care. That's later. We'll talk about what happens next.
yeah.
There.
So after Tommaso wins, we get a Judgment Day promo. They all come out onto the stage, and then Finn Balor just basically everyone cuts a promo talking about the different things that they're involved in. Finn
Did
basically
did
talks, yeah.
did Dom cut a promo? I couldn't hear him.
So The Spark Notes version of this promo, Finn Balor ends up talking about how he's going to win at Money in the Bank, and he's playing up this narrative, which is based on real fact. Finn was the inaugural Universal Champion, but had to vacate it because of an injury sustained by Seth during their match at SummerSlam 10 years ago, which I enjoy as well. I know
That
Finn's.
really 10 years ago?
Yeah, I had to look up the math. And I'm like, holy shit, it was a decade ago that it happened. I know, bro. What, you were like 5? I'm just kidding. Love you too. I was 20 when that inaugural Universal Championship match happened.
Okay.
I know. Oh god. It felt it doesn't even feel like it was that long ago, but it really was. And then Finn proceeded to pass the mic to Rhea, how she says that she has the women's division on lock, which is true, but it can't be unlocked if you're not defending the title or having women you're not having matches particularly, but that's not her fault. Dominic tried to cut a promo, but the audience, the Cleveland, Ohio crowd was not having it.
He said something about he's gonna beat Cody Rhodes or something like that.
Now, if you want a shocker, it would be hilarious if he beat Cody Cleveland Money in the Bank. That'd be fucking
I
hilarious.
was thinking about that during his match. They need to start pushing Dom because Dom's actually a decent wrestler.
He is, and he's just been relegated to big tag
Getting his ass
matches.
kicked every single time he's in the
That's very true. He's mostly taking the pins now because everyone else. And then finally, Damian says that he's going to be winning Money in the Bank. I would love to see Damian win, but after what happens later in the night, if one person doesn't win, I think the universe is going to turn on everybody else who wins that is not said person, but we'll get to that segment. And then we end the promo with basically Judgment Day, Dom challenging Cody Rhodes to find some couple partners and to face them for the main event tonight in Raw, which that becomes this thing throughout the whole entire night. Cody's looking for partners and things like that. So let's get to this beautiful backstage segment that follows the whole entire night of Raw between Sammy and Kevin Owens. So basically, Sami Zayn confronts Kevin Owens and is like, bro, you have anger issues. I'll tell you what, let's make a bet. You can go
He's
the
a rageaholic.
He's a rageaholic. If you could go the whole entire night without being super angry and getting and getting violent in your anger, I won't I won't speak of it again. I really wish that there would have been something be like, I will do this, I will do that, whatever. So then we follow the whole entire night, which we'll get into as it pops up. Kevin Owens doing his best not to pop his top.
So funny.
I love that this whole entire segment going throughout the whole entire night of Raw. It added more of the personal comedy we know Zayn and Owens to be able to do. And if they want to bring this up later, it could be a potential thing where, hey, Kevin, bro, you're like getting way out of control, and now it's almost costing us matches. I need you to calm down.
That could be a potential for farther down the line, but Kevin and Sammy are a little too popular right now for them to be breaking up anytime soon.
And so this was a good start to this segment, and everything that happens afterwards in regards to this is so much fun too. So next up, we get one of two women's matches tonight. While this one was not great either because of how short the time was, at least we got more women's matches. So this was a tag team match between Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville taking on the Party Girls, Katana Chance and Kaden Carter, who had an awesome showing 2 weeks ago against Shayna and Ronda, which that match was a lot of fun to watch. Before the match gets started, whoever is the marketing genius who's helping Chelsea do these like TikTok videos is fucking hilarious. Chelsea Green is great. Mrs. Matt Cardona, if you listen to this, like we love you. I love you. But this was a quick match. Sonya and Chelsea started with the upper hand, but as the match went on, Kaden and Katana got the balance back in their favor. And then they managed to pull off a win against Chelsea Green and Kaden Carter. Again, I hated that it was a short match. It only went on for like about 5 minutes or so. But I hate seeing Chelsea and Sonya lose, but they're the perfect tag team right now to be put in that position, especially if you're still trying to build up more women's tag teams like Katana and Kaden. I love those two. Again, NXT girls being called up. I
Don't
hope
put me short, girls.
the I know, man. And yeah, they're like one of the only actual women's tag teams. This is what they do. They've been working on this. They've been a team for the last 5 years. It's not they're not being thrown together. They literally are a women's tag team. So while I wished it was longer, I am glad that they picked up the win. And Chelsea and Sonya are in the perfect position in a loss. They're still great. Chelsea is. So then this was the weirdest thing. So usually when we get these kinds of interviews like we did, Kathy Kelly is standing up in the she's standing at the stage and out comes Cody Rhodes where they have this interview in front of the crowd. Usually we have these kinds of interviews backstage or in gorilla position or
They
whatever.
purely did it just so the crowd can scream, "Wow!" I think that was it.
They did it twice because Cody came out during his match and they did it again. Yeah,
I think that was legitimately the reason why they did it out there
that could be the
because
reason.
he's that over with the crowd.
Yeah, so Cody comes out and he basically does this interview with Kathy on the stage where he discusses the Judgment Day as a faction. And this is where he officially accepts Dom's challenge and that he's going to go find people to bring in to face them for tonight's main event. Again, I get why you would want to bring Cody Rhodes out because right now he is over with the crowd. Just from a production standpoint, this was really weird to do this interview in front of the audience. I felt like just from, I guess, story perspective, and I put that in air quotes, it makes more sense to have it backstage. Crowd was over, crowd was behind it, crowd ate it up because it's Cody Rhodes. It was good. This next match hurt me because I love the Hurt Business. I love Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin. But man, there were two big problems with this match. Number one, they got squashed. Number two, this was not good. This was not a great match. But Hurt Business take on Indus with Jinder as their manager. Listen, I like Indus, but this was not a great match. There was a couple of moments of miscommunication. Some timing was off. Indus picked up the victory, but this was not a good match. This was not a good match, Minnie. This was not.
That tells you it's not a good match when I think I actually skipped it.
To be fair, this was a short match, but
Yeah, because I don't that's how much apparently I remember from that. 'Cause I'm sitting there, I'm like, "This match happened?"
that's how insignificant this match was. It did no favors to Cedric and Shelton, and this match was not good, showing off into who are better than this. But yeah, this match was not great. I would have at this point as I was watching this, I was like, this is the lowest point for me. And then that kind of changed when we get to the other women's match, but we'll talk about that in a bit. So after this match, we get another backstage segment with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn where they encounter Mr. Matthew Riddle.
Riddle telling Kale, "Hey, have you seen these movies?" Kale shows a little spark of anger, but then he smiles and goes, "Watch them, they're good." And Matt's like, "Hey, good job." He hits him on the shoulder, and here Kale goes,
Don't touch
He
me.
walked away. And he walks away.
Kevin Owens is such a Kevin Owens is such I love his comedic timings. Don't touch me.
He's just having the time of his life.
We'll come back to Matt Riddle. Okay. This next part is what I had lots of questions. I had lots of feelings. The group chat heard some of my feelings. But next, we get a segment in the ring. We start this segment off with social media influencer slash star Logan Paul sitting on top of one of the Money in the Bank ladder matches underneath the briefcases. And then he cuts this promo how he has roots in Cleveland, but unlike Cleveland, he moved out to Los Angeles and became a winner because he had to get away from the losers that were in Cleveland. I was like, damn. I was like, always, yeah.
Yep.
Hating the person who talks crap about the city that they're in always usually goes over. And I was like, okay. And then the next words that were that came out of his mouth made me raise an eyebrow like The Rock. After he cuts his promo about his roots and moving to LA and coming back, and that Ohio and Cleveland are losers and whatnot, then he proceeds to announce he is in the Money in the Bank ladder match. And this is the part where I raised an eyebrow and I had feelings. So
We all had to like everybody else had a match to get in, and he just goes, "I'm in."
that is the main core of my problem with this whole entire thing. I get it. He's a part time wrestler and he partially brings in the numbers because the numbers don't lie. Because I did do some research and I found which segment on Raw this week actually brought in all the numbers. But this is what frustrated me. For the last couple of weeks, you had these qualifier matches where you had all these guys compete to earn their spot in Money in the Bank. And then Logan comes out and he just says he's in it and then he doesn't have to qualify. From a booking standpoint, I thought it would have been more interesting where he says that. Then all the participants come out and be like, no, bro. I was just like, I don't have a problem with you being in it, but you need to earn your spot like the rest of us. And then if they proceeded to have a last minute, last chance for the seventh spot, have Logan face off against, I don't know, one of the people that lost. And then he can get in that way. But no, he just says he's in and he's inserted in. And then, of course, they do this thing that they normally do for Money in the Bank where all the participants come out.
Ricochet came out and was like, "Yeah, you ain't gonna do nothing, Logan. You're Logan Paul. Nobody cares." Then Shinsuke Nakamura comes out with this awesome English. I don't
Then the
listen to people
man
talk.
himself, Mr. L.A. Knight. Yeah.
Yeah,
He just runs down and just basically verbally decimates everybody.
destroys everybody. Saying, "I see Shinsuke Nakamura. I see Ricochet. You two are about as useful as basketball cleats." That was fucking. Then he pulls out a piece of paper in his pocket and he goes, "Logan, I got this map for you. Yeah. Follow this map. It tells you exactly where you can stick those bottles of Prime." Yeah.
And this is where I bring up the numbers game because people like to talk, be like, oh, Logan Paul's in it because he for numbers. I'm like, well, that might be true. LA Knight's little segment where he decimates was out so far during this Money in the Bank ladder match segment is the highest in terms of views on the social medias and YouTube. And this is where we get into this. So the men's Money in the Bank ladder match, we have seven. It went from 6 to 7. And those seven people are Logan Paul, Ricochet, Shinsuke Nakamura, LA Knight, Butch, Santos Escobar, and who else am I forgetting? Because I said
Damian Priest.
and Damian Priest. I forgot because Damian was doing the Judgment Day
That-
thing. He wasn't in
so
the
funny.
segment.
Santos comes out, starts cutting the promo. Then Butch just comes out, doesn't say anything, just punches Logan Paul in the face.
As you should. But this is where I'm afraid for Money in the Bank. With Logan Paul's inclusion into this match, my biggest fear and is that he actually has a chance of winning the briefcase. That's what worries me because then we get into the repeat of what happened with Brock Lesnar because Brock Lesnar was part-time and 2 years ago he won the Money in the Bank briefcase. I'm still mad. It should have been Ali, but it is what it is.
Talk about all you want to talk about NXT.
Yeah, because NXT is actually doing him a lot of favors right now. But I don't want Logan to win for the simple fact that I don't like part timers who have that briefcase. And you know that if Logan's not gonna be there weekly, he's gonna cash it in at the most inopportune time and win it. So my biggest fear is WWE is gonna give him that briefcase. And who they should give that briefcase to, I still think LA Knight should be the winner because if he does not win because of how over he is with the crowd and how much he draws to the social medias, I'm afraid, including Logan himself, if any of the other 6 gentlemen that is not LA Knight win that briefcase, I am so afraid that the universe is going to turn on them in a heartbeat.
Yeah, because we have what 4 faces, 3 heels in the match.
Pretty much.
Damian Priest. Technically, LA Knight's a heel right now.
He's so over the face.
He's like the second biggest baby face in the company.
It's ridiculous. And he got himself over. He got himself
Or-
there.
He is the third biggest babyface on the roster,
right?
behind Seth and Cody.
I feel like Butch is an in-betweener because right
I,
now
I feel like isn't this faction, isn't the Brotherhood's heels?
they're supposed to be, but because they're so over and because their most interactions have been with Imperium for the last couple of months, I feel like they're quasi babyface in a little bit. But
Okay.
I feel that Butch is more in betweener, so he
They're
could go
like
either
the
way.
legitimately then the only two true heels in this match are Damian Priest and Logan Paul.
That is very true because everyone else, LA Knight technically is heel, but he's so beloved right now with the universe. He could be babyface. That'd be fun to have a babyface or somewhat of a face LA Knight. And then
Just have don't
Ricochet's
change anything he does.
yeah, Ricochet's a face. Santos is now a face because in NXT he was a heel, but now part of LWO he's face, and so is the whole entire faction.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I still hope that LA Knight wins it just from pure I think this man deserves it. But I can also see them giving it to Logan Paul. But I can see the backlash from the universe if he wins it or anybody else who's
I,
not
I
LA
I
Knight.
think they did it just to draw more people into watching the men's match. I think it's why they did it. Because this
Yeah,
is London, this is a big event, so they're gonna put in big people in the match.
yeah.
I still feel like that he is going to lose and LA Knight's gonna take it.
I will say I am looking forward to the next viral moment that Logan and Ricochet create because that Royal Rumble spot was oof, that was so beautifully done.
Was cool.
It was amazing. By the way, Money in the Bank, I it makes sense because it is going to be nighttime in London, but the start time for us here in the States is like this is an afternoon pay-per-view. It starts at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm like, damn, it's gonna be an afternoon, which I'm okay with because after the pay-per-view, I'm like, oh look, it's dinner time. Let's go eat dinner now that the pay-per-view is over. But and I mean, we did get confirmation last week on our SmackDown review what is going to be the main event for Money in the Bank, which is that tag team match. But you can check out our SmackDown review to hear our thoughts on that segment. All right. So this next match, I actually thought this was really good. You got Matthew Riddle coming down to the ring, and he takes on Ludwig the Kaiser of Imperium. So I guess we're still potentially setting up Matt versus Gunther at some point for the IC title. This match was good, high intensity. I think
What you
between
expect from both wrestlers.
this match was actually really fun.
It was really good. I like Kaiser. I feel like he's a really good wrestler. It just didn't even end at like it looked like it didn't make Kaiser look weak for losing because the way that he lost was Matt Riddle hitting a move out of nowhere that Kaiser wasn't expecting. So I don't think that's why Gunther wasn't even mad that he lost because it was just like I don't know where Gunther won. Yo, I think today I was missing matches because there's stuff on here that I didn't even watch when I watched last night. Like, when did Otis have a match?
Okay, that comes later in the night, and it was Chad Gable that had the match, but Otis and Maxine were at ringside. But that's coming up shortly.
It wasn't on the thing when I watched last night. There apparently Hulu was taking stuff out.
Damn, Hulu, why would you do that?
Edit that out. I might get in trouble.
Anyways, so Matt ends up picking up the win, and then after the match, Gunther and Ludwig attack Matt Riddle and stomp on his leg, which then proceeds to follow what happens after commercial break, in which Matt is being escorted backstage by two medical professionals, by two trainers. And so it's just like kayfabe injury. I'm like, we did this already a couple weeks ago, but it is what it is. So I think we're definitely getting Matt versus Gunther for the IC title, whether it's going to be on television or at. I think this is a program that's going to go into because I don't.
SummerSlam.
Yeah, into SummerSlam. So I think that's the IC title match at SummerSlam.
Then it cuts to Imperium running into Sammy and KO again. And KO going, again, who called you guys? Why are you here? You know what? Never mind.
Yeah, Sammy's like, hey, looks at his phone and be like, we have to take care of this real quick. And then they proceed to clink their belts and then they leave.
He clinked his belt. KO turns around to walk away, turns around, looks at Imperium, clinks his belt, and then walks away.
I guess it makes sense but I'm like, Imperium had their championship match already and they lost that match. So why are we still.
I think it was just because during one of his more funny freakouts is when Imperium came out without being like called out. So I think it's why they did it, just to show the growth of KO not getting mad at them for showing up out of nowhere again.
I guess. I if we're gonna get a rematch between Imperium and KO and Sammy, I'm not against it, but I'm hoping that if we do get this rematch, and this is where my issues with these unified tag team championship belts happens because yes, they're defending the titles on both brands, but from a writer's perspective, it's really hard to write two separate storylines on two separate brands if your champions have both titles because on Raw right now, it seems that Imperium and then KO and Sammy are in a feud right now. And over on SmackDown, it's going to be KO and Sammy going up against Pretty Deadly
Pretty good.
for the championships in 2 weeks.
I feel like they should just do the Pretty Deadly Belt for the SmackDown belts. Like they should just make those two defend their belts twice in one night, kind of thing, and split them finally.
Yeah, either split the titles or unify them into one set, and then you can go back and forth. But that still doesn't solve the issues that I
No,
have from
there's a,
writing. But it is what it is.
there's another match that I didn't even see that happened.
D-
Shinsuke had a match, I didn't even see it. What the hell?
All right, yeah. So we'll get to it. So next up, this is
Just so unprepared.
listen. In all honesty, Raw kind of blurs together. That's why I have notes because it helps me remember exactly what happened when it happened. But I have to rewatch it. I'm like, wait a minute, I need to make sure I have everything because everything just goes by quickly. Because this next match was so fucking entertaining. You had Chad Gable taking on no, you had Alpha Academy taking on the Viking Raiders. This was a tag team match. God, this match was so freaking entertaining.
Well,
Chad
anything with Otis, and Chad Gable's just an athlete.
Chad Gable is amazing, and he starts off this match. It's a good back and forth between him and Eric, and then Otis and Ivar have a little bit of a come off with a standoff.
Ma-
This sequence,
This should have made Maxine came out in her singlet.
yeah, she did come out in her singlet in this one.
Oh, is she a singlet? What is she wearing? It doesn't look like a singlet.
It's
Well, it's
like
a
a
fancy singlet
it's a
because
fancy
she's supposed to
singlet, and
be
then she has that
Maxine.
bustier underneath. Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
So
I'm watching it
yeah.
as we're talking.
So the
While
scene,
watching like
yeah,
the SmackDown, the on the WWE website, the reduced version of it.
gotcha. So Otis and Ivar have a great sequence where Otis knocks him down. Otis is not paying attention because after he takes off the shirt, he kind of pans to the crowd to get their adulation. And then as he turns around, Ivar just roundhouse kicks this man in the face, which is crazy.
What?
Yeah,
Oh, he's ripped off his shirt.
it's so good. The
Yep,
end
it's just right.
So as many watches this, we get a continued back and forth between Viking Raiders and Alpha Academy. And then the finishing sequence, I don't care that it was a distraction because Alpha Academy is slowly becoming like the comedic face team that we never knew we needed. Because Valhalla, aka Sarah Logan, she tries to blindside Maxine, and Maxine catches her and does an okay suplex off into the mat. And that was amazing. Otis comes out of the ring to celebrate with her. Chad is celebrating. He's in the ring, celebrates that she successfully did that suplex. But Chad is distracted because Eric comes out, hits him, and gets the pin for the 1, 2, 3. Viking Raiders pick up the win over Alpha Academy.
How athletic Chad Gable is.
I just love his thank you.
I just watched him do that. Like he's so fucking strong.
By the way, I didn't catch this until I saw the replay at the end of the match when Chad Gable goes for the diving headbutt off the top of the rope. He in slow motion, he's diving off and then he puts up the fingers and he says, "Thank you," as he's falling.
It's what makes that even funnier is right as you said that is the moment that I watched.
Overall, so now Alpha Academy and
Oh, here's that suplex.
Viking Raiders are now 1-1. So I think we get one more match between them. I don't know if this continues on into a longer feud, but I think for me personally, I think Alpha Academy should be the one that goes over in this series of 3.
I like how when she hits the suplex, she also does think.
I never knew that these 3 for Alpha Academy is what I needed, but I am so happy we have them.
They're awesome. And It's like we're the comedic face team, but Chad Gable is a legitimately incredibly good wrestler.
Otis is your big power player, and Maxine is your face. It's perfect.
Otis is just a big ass meatball, and I love him.
He's so fucking hilarious. They're all hilarious. I'm so happy that they dropped the model angle and now it's just Chad coaching Otis and Maxine. I want this to continue where Chad continues to train Maxine and then she has her first match and then she like wins because Chad has taught her everything.
It's gonna be like what we talked about with Thea Hale.
Oh, yeah. Check out our NXT review later because I have a lot of things to say about the Hale. I'm actually really excited for that match happening at week 2 of Gold Rush, but check our NXT review for all that.
Is it better than I want to see? Even though now I'm seeing the matches that I fucking somehow missed with Bronson and Reed versus Otis.
That would be a phenomenal match because
Should I just get two massive meatballs?
just hurting, like beating the shit out of each other. Oh, it was so good. All right,
Oh, sure, sure.
let's get to the low point. So after this fun match, we get Rhea Ripley and Natalia having backstage segment in gorilla position. So we're supposed to get Rhea versus Natalia. No,
Rematch from Night of Champions.
it's a rematch from Night of Champions. I was just like, Natalia's not gonna win. Give me some good TV time, it'll be good. No, we don't even get the fucking match because as Natty comes out to her entrance, Rhea's nah, I ain't waiting for this, and just proceeds to beat the ever living daylight out of Natalia. And we don't even get the match. The match doesn't officially start. There is no more match. And
Nope,
Rhea,
they come out. Rhea hits the riptide. The refs come out, separate them, and Rhea just goes, "Man, fuck you. I'm a boss bass bitch." Because
this,
mommy is.
yeah, I love Rhea Ripley, but Natalia gets no freaking respect, man. The last couple of years, I'm just like, Homegirl has been played as a joke. She has been thrown into like really bad tag teams and stupid storylines. And I'm just like, what are we doing with Natalia? I think she deserves better, but I might be in the minority here. I'm just tired of her always being the butt of the joke. And I don't
Well, she's
understand. I don't
a
understand.
jobber now.
Yeah, I don't understand what WWE is doing. I'm not asking her to be world champion, but I'm like, give her something better to do than like just be a jobber. It's it made me sad. But poor Natalia, I don't know what's next for her. Natalia, girl, if WWE's not going to take you seriously, I think you should go do something else. Find somewhere else that will appreciate you. Don't go to AEW because that women's roster is bloated. Plus, also AEW right now has a problem with their women's division. Go to Impact. Trinity is there. You will have some phenomenal matches there. I promise you that. So backstage, Raquel is talking to Kathy Kelly, and Rhea Ripley confronts her, saying, "You should be afraid." And Raquel does not bat an eye. She does not flinch. There's no
I
fear in
want
her
that
eyes.
match. Give me
She's
that match, please.
Raquel is just, "Mommy, better be prepared because Raquel Rodriguez backs down to no one." And then she proceeds to walk out to her match. See, here's the thing: Raquel and Rhea had some banger matches in Black and Gold NXT. That I know they can go. So I'm like, run it back, run it back. If you're not going to give me Rhea and Bianca right now, Rhea and Raquel is what I'll take. So Raquel comes out, and then Trish comes out because this is the final women's Money in the Bank qualifier match where one of these two women is going to get into the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. Okay, so I want to say that I appreciate the callback when Raquel grabs Trish and like literally in a bear hug and starts like ragdolling her back and forth, which is a callback to what happened to Trish when I forgot who did that to her in the early 2000 days of WWE. But there's a lot of
Phoenix.
probably,
What's it called?
probably. It was a callback. I was like, I really appreciate this. And so I'm like, "Oh, okay, Raquel's gonna win this." And then Becky comes down. I'm like, "Okay, we're furthering the feud between Trish and Becky." And then I was like, "Okay, Becky's probably gonna distract Trish and Raquel's gonna win and whatnot." But then that did not happen. And in fact, I think this is the dumbest way for it to happen because Becky gets goaded into messing with Trish, which causes a DQ to the match. And so Trish qualifies for the Money in the Bank ladder match via DQ from Becky Lynch, which screws Raquel out of a spot in that ladder match. And so Becky and Raquel have exchanged some words after the match. I don't mind that Trish is in this ladder match because this will be her first one ever, but I hated the way that they went about getting her to win. And granted, Raquel doesn't take the pin, but I feel like there are other ways that you could get Trish to be in this match without.
They should have just did the most devastating move in all sports entertainment, the surprise roll up.
Exactly. That would have been fine. Or even Becky didn't even need to be out there. Maybe Zoe comes out, distracts Raquel, and that's what happens. But I hated the fact that they used Becky as a tool to DQ to get Trish into this match. From a storytelling standpoint, to me personally, hate when that happens. But Trish is the final woman into this ladder match. See,
What? Why are they putting a 42-year-old Trish Stratus in a ladder match?
now, for me personally, I don't have a problem with Trish being in it, and in fact, this is one of the few accolades that she has yet to accomplish, surprisingly enough, in her career as a WWE women's wrestler. She hasn't been in a ladder match, but I feel like Money in the Bank should be showcasing all of your newer and Trish, I love you, girl, but some of your rising stars and newer, younger talent.
They should have put Raquel because I don't think they don't have a big strong girl in the match.
So this is a good place to talk about. So let's go over women's fields because this is weird because we only have 6 women in this match instead of where the men have 7. So in the women's match, you have Io Sky, Zelina Vega, Trish Stratus, Bailey. You have Zoe Stark, and then who else am I missing? Damn it! There's always one, and it's usually one person. I'm like, oh yeah, they're not gonna win. My gosh, it's gonna kill me. You know what? I'm looking this up. I have because it's gonna bug me for the rest of this review if I don't get it.
It's Becky.
Oh, duh! How can I forget? It's this
And
big
that's
time
the
bet.
person that we're thinking is going to win it.
So here's, you know what? So follow this conspiracy theory real quick, right? So of these 6 women, this is my conspiracy theory, and this is just me justifying for Zelina to win. Here's my follow this conspiracy theory real quick. So 5 out of the 6 women in this match are involved in secondary storylines. Becky, Zoe, and Trish are involved in this storyline where I think those 3 are going to focus too much on trying to kill each other. And then you have Bailey and Io with the potential breakup of Damage Control on the horizon. So if Shotzi doesn't replace Becky, I think Bailey and Io are going to have one more. There's going to be an implosion during this match, and they're going to fight each other, which gives Zelina the opportunity to go and win that Money in the Bank briefcase. Now, I think Becky. I still think Becky is going to end up winning because this is the one accolade in her career that she has yet to do. She has won all the championships. She has done all the things. Money in the Bank is the only thing that has yet to happen for her. She is not a Money in the Bank winner. I'm not. I wouldn't be mad at Becky winning the briefcase, but I would still love to see Zelina, especially given the fact that since Backlash, I think she has proved to the WWE universe that she is a star. And this would be a nice to have a second underdog moment like they did last year with Liv. Because once Liv won that championship, even though her reign was not necessarily the greatest, I became a bigger fan for her, and the audience became a bigger fan for her as well. It's just they did not book her reign great.
Always been a fan of Liv Morgan.
I love it.
Crazy thing is, I saw a video. I think the only person that has held their Money in the Bank contract briefcase for more than a day was Carmella.
I know.
Everybody else is cashing in that night.
It's weird. The women tend to not keep that briefcase for very long because they either cash it in at the event or the next day, which is so weird because then the men tend to always hold on to it longer, which shows you that they don't have the stories to draw out the briefcase for long periods of time, I guess.
Crazy because, like, for me personally, like, I've heard stories. I feel bad for anybody who is either the Heritage Cup winner or the Money in the Bank winner because they have to carry that shit around with them all the time.
Yeah, we'll talk about the Heritage Cup because the bumper for week 2 of NXT Gold Rush, we have a Heritage Cup match next week, but check out NXT for all that goodness. All right, so now we're winding down to the end of Raw. So, in between all this women's Money in the Bank shenanigans, Cody, Kevin, and Sammy formed their little team as who they're going to be facing off against Judgment Day. And then next we have Bronson Reed versus Shinsuke Nakamura. God, this match was so fun.
They had random. Why did their ring gear match?
I'm just telling you, man, the New Japan wrestlers that come to WWE, they always tend to have like really matching gear
Like like
unintentionally, and it's so good.
it's hilarious. The match looked like it was fun. I watched the quick little summary of it because I somehow missed that.
Hi, you might be wondering, didn't you have a different shirt on in the review? Be correct. This is editing Mike here. Unfortunately, had a bit of a video malfunction at the tail end of our Raw review, so I'm here to give you a recap and after the stopping point in our review. So we had Shinsuke taking on Bronson Reed, and honestly, this match was a really fun time. I love being able to see both of my boys, Shinsuke and Bronson, go at it one on one as they've been continuing to fight all this. Nakamura starts off this match strong, but Reed manages to maintain control and finally win with a 747 splash, otherwise known as a tsunami, as Wade Parrott likes to call it. Ricochet got involved. I don't understand why he was out there. I think it furthers Shinsuke versus Ricochet, which is fine. But ultimately, Reed's power and resilience was on display here, and it helped him despite Shinsuke being the king of strong style he is in his aggressive defense. We get a statement from Seth Rollins, and he says that despite being attacked by Finn Balor, he plans to continue to go forward with his match against Braun Breaker on NXT the following night, as he is a fighting champion. We end Monday Night Raw with the main event of Cody Rhodes, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens taking on the Judgment Day. Honestly, this was a lot of fun. This main event was full of back and forth action with multiple interferences from Rhea Ripley, who was being mommy and defending Dom. And just there was a lot of cool spots on here. If you haven't seen this match, I recommend that you check this out because this is probably the match of the night for this week on Raw. But ultimately, Cody Rhodes hits the crossroads on Damian Priest and pins him for a 1-2-3 to secure the win for Cody, Sammy, and KO. Overall, this week's Raw was okay. It wasn't horrible. There were a couple of questionable moments, as we had said in the review. But overall, both me and Minnie gave this a 2.5 out of 5 stars. This is one of those Raws in between pay-per-view cycles that kind of gets lost in the shuffle a little bit, but ultimately it is continuing to build towards Money in the Bank. But that does bring us to the end of our Monday Night Raw review. If you would like a more condensed version of said review, make sure to hop over to our social medias to see our Beat the Clock edition of this week's Monday Night Raw, where me and Minnie attempt to summarize Monday Night Raw in under 5 minutes. It is a lot of fun, it is chaotic, and I definitely recommend it. I also recommend if you're also interested in those other short forms or long reviews of the other weekly TV shows that we are covering, because we're pretty much covering all of them at this point, make sure to go over to the social medias or look at our other videos here on the Bi-Conics Wrestling Podcast YouTube channel to see our more in-depth reviews of your favorite weekly TV shows for wrestling. I also recommend you check out our series Hot Tag, where our host Adolfo breaks down the professional wrestling news that breaks over the last couple of days and summarizes them in about 2 to 3 minutes so you are staying up to date and current with all the happenings in professional wrestling. But that is going to be it for this week's Monday Night Raw review from myself and Minnie. We look forward to seeing you all for the next review next week. But until then, that is going to be it.